Adam Sanchez Jr. was sentenced in court today. Your ABC Montana News starts right now. These streets in downtown Great Falls are the home to many of our veterans. But a new partnership between the Great Falls Police Department and Volunteers of America is working to get them off the street. The death of Megan Merriweather was a drug deal gone wrong. We are gearing up for back to school here in Great Falls. I speak with Governor Bullock and Greg Gianforte on how this impacts their campaign as we head to the final days of the election. Health professionals say that even for going outside for something as simple as checking the mail, make sure you put a coat on. Because even being outside for a short amount of time can cause things like hypothermia. That these aquatic invasive species, they can't reproduce in these cold temperatures. And a Great Falls couple has been arrested in connection with a meth lab on Cove Lane. In the winter months, rodents tend to get cold. Good evening, everyone. I'm Morgan Davies. We'll hear from Governor Bullock in just a bit. There's more winter weather on the way, and the city of Great Falls wants to remind people that it's a city ordinance to clear your sidewalk of snow and ice. However, part of Meismer's request was to withdraw his guilty plea. And Helena man has been arrested for a charge for sexual intercourse without consent. Here in Indian country, there are many lessons in the land. I did check in with the Great Falls Police Department earlier today, but they didn't have any theft reports from last night. Amanda, both candidates focused on public land use today and acknowledged that it's a large part of this election. Great Falls man charged with raping 7-year-old girl. Ex-Helena police officer accused of sexually assaulting 2 women. Juvenile sexually assaulted at a health club. With headlines like these, it seems clear that the suspect will be found guilty and get maximum prison time. But that's rarely the case.
In our community alone, we've had a not guilty verdict from a rape trial, and that wasn't easy for the victim. She's still learning how to get through that.
Special Victim Unit detectives say crime TV shows have construed the general public's idea of how sex crimes actually happen.
Simply put, this isn't CSI. You're not going to have DNA. These people don't leave witnesses. You're not going to have eyewitnesses. Most of them aren't recorded anyway.
Besides the lack of physical evidence, another challenge that detectives face is late reporting.
You got to understand it is a normal reaction to an abnormal event. Most people don't go, a lot of people don't go through these things, so they don't know how a victim would react or is supposed to react.
What Detective Price is saying here is what everyone involved in these cases has also told me. We haven't been exposed to these types of situations, so we don't know the correct way to respond.
It's not something that is comfortable or something that doesn't traumatize them. And in a situation like that, they do get traumatized. They do want to forget that it happened. And none of those things coincide with a great trial.
As I continued to learn how sex crime cases develop, there was one thing that made sense to me. Evidence being lost because victims have the tendency to wash anything that may be left behind.
Because they want to shower, they want to be clean after the assault. So if they do come, it doesn't mean that we can't collect evidence. Our exam is just limited.
But all of this points to the fault of the victim. And that is where the idea of the perfect victim needs to be left behind for a different way of thinking.
People wrongly believe that victims should act a certain way, or they should have reported the assault sooner, they should have sought medical help sooner, or they shouldn't have been consuming alcohol. I mean, all of these, widely held irrational beliefs about rape become difficult to overcome.
I think a sentence is appropriate under these conditions.
When the public sees sentences like 20 years in prison with 15 suspended for a chiropractor who raped his employee, or the latest, a Glasgow man who admitted to raping a 12-year-old girl gets a suspended sentence. But there is a reason for this.
Plea agreements are an essential part of the process, and at times the public might think that they're unfair, they want to see something different, but in having watched victims testify in these types of cases, it's a very traumatic experience.
If you want to change this rape culture, well, there's action you can take now. The Cascade County Sexual Assault Response Team has released a survey that will be used to see where our community needs more education on sex crimes. You can find that link on our website. Reporting in Great Falls, I'm Morgan Davies. As I'm sure everyone remembers, Greg Gianforte ran against Governor Bullock in the gubernatorial election. Now, he lost that in a very close race, but as Ryan Ziege plans to vacate his congressional seat as he moves to be the Secretary of the Interior, Senator Steve Daines believes that Gianforte could be a great representation for the Treasure State.
I'm urging Greg Gianforte to consider getting in the race. I've known Greg for a long time. I think he'd make a great member of Congress.
After Senator Daines told me he was urging Gianforte to run, I had an email conversation with Gianforte. He told me that he appreciates the support, but right now he's just looking forward to spending the holidays with his family. But what happens if Gianforte decides not to run for the congressional seat? Well, I reached out to our political analyst Lee Banville, and he explains how the Republican bench of candidates is pretty slim.
I think the Republicans are really banking probably on a Gianforte race, because then they'll actually be able to keep all those guys who've just won statewide race in their positions within the state government, or they'll have to look at the legislature.
Talk of the small bench is the same for the Democrats, and that's why Banville says they also may have to look to the legislature.
You look at how many candidates they have to run in this campaign. You have Denise Juneau, who just ran and mounted a serious campaign, but did lose. And then very quickly you drop off into sort of either other candidates who've run and lost, or you look into the legislature.
Whoever decides to run for the special election, it will be particularly important for the Democrats, as this will be a chance for them to win back that congressional seat, which has not been held by a Democrat since Pat Williams. Reporting in Great Falls, I'm Morgan Davies. Spice, K2, pot potpourri. The common street names for synthetic cannabinoids, a drug that looks like marijuana, but the effects can be much more dangerous.
Behavior becomes so unpredictable.
Terrifying stories of the dangers of spice have been popping up all over the country, and one of those horrific stories happened here in Montana.
Adam Sanchez, who is currently in custody for his alleged role in last Thursday's fatal car chase.
Adam Sanchez later admitted to being on bath salts, another name for spice, at the time of that chase. And the way Sanchez reacted under the influence of the drug was recounted by Lieutenant Bob Rospial at the trial.
I tackled him on the high end, and there's another city officer that got him a blow, and we went to the ground, and then there was a bunch of us on.
It's the reaction to spice like that of Adam Sanchez that concerns police, and each person reacts differently.
One kid will try it and it just gave him kind of a euphoric high, and then another kid tries the same exact strand, same exact brand of synthetic, and it's a completely different reaction.
School resource officer Nick Taylor has also seen a scary first-hand account of spice when a student at CMR went into a full seizure 3 years ago. But still, more and more teens are trying it.
In many ways, when you look at these products, they're actually marketed towards juveniles, using very bright colors, non-descriptive language.
However, spice is not your average drug. Unlike marijuana or methamphetamine, spice can be bought legally in convenience stores or online. This store has an advertisement for spice on their sign outside, and I'm on a website where I can easily purchase spice, and as you can see, it says that it's legal.
Companies that are producing it, mostly based over in China and Russia, they'll end up just changing a strand of the chemicals that are sprayed on these herbs, and basically just a new strand, and that's kind of how they circumvent the legal system on it. So.
Not only is spice readily available, the ever-changing chemical composition makes it difficult for drug tests to detect.
You have to use very specialized testing in order to be able to detect whether someone's under the influence of a synthetic cannabinoid.
I wanted to see just how specialized this drug test was, and to do so, I was able to get my hands on a standard drug test. Now, this only tests for drugs like oxycodone, PCP, and cocaine. And I compared it to lab results from a synthetic cannabinoids drug test, and as you can see, this is 2 pages and over 50 different chemical combinations. And as you can imagine, a test this complex would be very costly to drug courts.
5 to 7 kind of commonly used illegal drugs might cost $12, where if you want to test for, upwards of 120 different variations of synthetic drugs, that would cost probably around $40.
Despite all of the health complications and the unpredictable behaviors, this drug is still attractive to people, especially teens, because it's easy to get and hard to detect, truly making it a dangerous convenience. Reporting in Great Falls, Morgan Davies, ABC Fox, Montana News.